All right.
Now to our main topic tonight, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. November 9th, 1975, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald filled up with taconite pellets in Superior, Wisconsin, and they were heading across Lake Superior towards the steel mill or near Detroit. Was it Zat Island or Zag Island? I can't remember exactly off the top of my head.
And we could have gone to Superior. We could have gone to Duluth for these events and everything, but
Whitefish Point is the closest to where it went
right
down.
That's what I'm saying.
Down.
It's
That's
where
right.
it went down.
Yeah.
So that's why we're going over there.
Yep.
Not where it departed. We're going to see.
We have literally a full day just in driving to get there.
Yeah, 5 hours.
And the time you drive back, that's 10 hours just in driving.
Well, you better get up in the morning.
Do they have a Taco Bell?
Hold on,
We can
check
stop.
this to see if you have to.
We have to see if there's a Taco Bell.
Tickets I think are for the museum. There's
Okay.
no tickets. It says open.
That's what I thought it was.
Public and
yeah. Whoops.
It's open to the public. The parking they said
there.
could be full. You may have to park on the side of the road and walk there.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming with our weather here,
Get the gun.
we're getting snow over the
Yeah,
weekend.
exactly.
So it's gonna be.
Yep.
I'm hoping pretty empty.
Yeah, my dad said so the weather's not looking too great for Monday, so we're gonna keep an eye on the weather for driving out there. But it'd be kind of odd if there was a huge storm like that. 50th.
The gales in
anniversary.
November came early.
Yep, and also in 1975, November 10th was also a Monday, which November 10th of this year's 50th anniversary is a Monday. So. And the Edmund Fitzgerald was named after the Northwestern Mutual Insurance Agency's president, Edmund Fitzgerald. And there's actually, I personally know Edmund Fitzgerald III. He owns a marina in the area.
Yeah, not
So
that big of
it's
a name.
definitely a local thing for us up here, especially. But the final voyage of the Edmund Fitzgerald began November 9th, 1975, at the Burlington Northern Railroad Dock, number 1, Superior, Wisconsin. Captain Ernest M. McSorley had loaded her with 26,116 long tons of taconite pellets. Now, a long ton is actually also known as a displacement ton. Instead of the actual weight of the objects, a long ton measures the displacement of water around a ship as it's being loaded. Departing Superior around 2:30 p.m., she was soon joined by the Arthur M. Anderson, which had departed from Two Harbors, Minnesota, under Captain Bernie Cooper. Two ships were in radio contact. The Fitzgerald began being the faster, took the lead with the distance between the vessels ranging from 10 to 15 miles. Now, originally, they were supposed to take the Lake shipping course, which is basically follows along the shoreline of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and then down through the Sioux Locks. But because of the storm that was coming across Lake Superior, they decided to go more north, follow the Ontario border, just south of Isle Royale, and then cut down towards Whitefish Bay, which is where, unfortunately, they hit the biggest hurricane force winds, and we don't know what happened from there. Where the storms, weather conditions continued to deteriorate. Gale warnings have been issued at 7 p.m. on November 9th, upgraded to storm warnings early in the morning on November 10th. While conditions were bad, the wind gusting to 50 knots and seas 12 to 16 feet. Both captains often piloted vessels in similar conditions. In the early afternoon of November 10th, the Edmund Fitzgerald had passed Michipicoten Island and was approaching Caribou Island. The Anderson was just approaching Michipicoten about 3 miles off the West End Light.
Speed is key.
I was gonna say they agreed to ride together, or roll together.
Yep.
And then other facts about this is the reason that it's. Did you guys know that it's illegal to film around the shipwreck?
Well, it's technically a cemetery.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Well, not
much
just that.
everywhere.
I think it's illegal because of the burial thing, and then also too, the creepiest part about it is somebody did do a documentary about the wreckage and filmed there, and one of the bodies showed up on film. And a fact about Lake Superior is it is so cold that bacteria cannot or doesn't build as fast, so bodies do not decompose as fast. That's also why they don't float. And the saying Lake Superior never gives up its dead is because
they sink.
It's so cold that the bodies sink rather than float.
Yep.
So anyway,
fun fact.
Yeah.
Not really
Not very
fun.
fun,
It's cold.
It's
cold.
a fact.
It's cold.
Lake Superior is
Average
very
temperature
cold.
of 43 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit.
Is that ghost breath?
Yeah, it'll literally be
You can't breathe
July.
underwater, so good luck.
It'll be July. It'll be 98 degrees outside and 95% humidity, and you'll get purple lips after you
Yep.
stand in Lake Superior for 15 minutes.
On top of the winds. Gales of November.
They came early last week.
Yeah.
This week, I'll tell you what, it was windy Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Unbelievable. Did you get them?
No.
There's a lot of them in here. At 3:30 p.m. that afternoon, Captain McSorley radioed Captain Cooper and said, "Anderson, this is Fitzgerald. I have a fence rail down, 2 vents lost or damaged, and a list. I'm checking down. Will you stay by me till we get to Whitefish?" McSorley was checking down at speed to allow the Anderson to close the distance to safety. Captain Cooper asked McSorley if he had pumps going. McSorley said yes, both of them. As the afternoon wore on, radio communications with the Fitzgerald concerned navigational information, but no extraordinarily alarming reports were offered by Captain McSorley. At about 5:20 p.m., the crest of the wave smashed the Anderson starboard lifeboat, making it unusable. Captain Cooper reported winds from the northwest-west at nearly 58 knots, with wind gusts of 70 knots and seas of 18 to 25 feet, which is
those are big.
60 to
Those are
70
large.
mile an hour winds.
Yeah.
Or 60 to 75 mile an hour winds. And 25-foot waves, which you can't even fathom.
That's
No, we're talking ocean numbers on a lake.
Yes. Oh, Lake Superior's waves are surfable for sure.
if you're in that kind of storm, yeah.
Even when it's not a storm. Remember the people up in I think it was Duluth.
Yeah, I've heard of
River,
people
like,
surfing Lake Superior, but I mean, it's not like,
Constant. You can't get consistent surf. It's
and you're not getting barrels like they do on
Yeah.
the ocean, unless you're out in the middle of it.
All right. According to Captain Cooper, about 6:55 p.m., he and the men in the Anderson's pilot house felt a bump. Felt the ship lurch and then turned to see a monstrous wave engulfing their entire vessel from astern. The wave worked its way along the deck, crashing on the back of the pilot house, driving the bow of the Anderson down into the sea. Which the Anderson did not sink. The Anderson just raised up, shook herself off of all the water. Baroof. Just like a big dog. Another wave, just like the first one, or bigger, hit us again. I watched those 2 waves head down the lake towards the Fitzgerald, and I think those are the 2 that sent her under. So the legend of the 3, was it the 2 sister waves or the 3 sister waves?
yeah.
Morgan Clark, first mate of the Anderson, kept watching the Fitzgerald on the radar to calculate her distance from some other vessels near Whitefish Point. He kept losing sight of the Fitzgerald on the radar from sea return, meaning the seas were so high they were interfered with the radar reflection.
Where do you get radar?
Because he's
He's
an
on it.
ADR
He's on
card.
it. He's on it.
All right.
That's a lot of
We're
conversation.
not going to go over
Right.
that, but anyways, they're just going back and forth between the Anderson and the Fitzgerald,
Yeah.
asking how they're doing, going on.
I think any of our viewers that are interested in this, it's a very interesting story.
Yeah,
Should
we'll
go look up the story of the
link in
Edmund
the
Fitzgerald.
bio.
It's a goddamn tragedy.
It's a read at your own pace kind of thing. I mean,
I would think it's, to be honest, this may be controversial.
Wait, they kind of skipped the last.
It's a better story than Titanic.
yeah, that's fair. I think, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to read this a little bit. This is the last communication between the Anderson and the Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald, this is the Anderson. Have you checked down? Yes, we have. Fitzgerald, we're about 10 miles behind you and gaining about 1.5 miles per hour. Fitzgerald, there is a target 19 miles ahead of us, so the target would be 9 miles on ahead of you. Well, answered Captain McSorley, am I going to clear? And Clark replies, yes, he's going to pass just to the west of you. McSorley, well, fine. By the way, Fitzgerald, how are you making out with your problems? Asked Clark. We are holding our own. And we are holding our own is the last radio communications that anyone had with the Edmund Fitzgerald. Clark replied, okay, fine. I'll be talking to you later. And he signed off. The radar signal or the PIP of the Fitzgerald kept getting obscured by sea return. And according to Clark and other wheelsmen in the wheelhouse, they said the radar turned into a white blob and they could watch the Edmund Fitzgerald disappear into that white blob and they never saw her again.
It's a goddamn tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine being on that ship as an employee? Just say you
Or anyone
a
for that
deckhand you've been through that shit 20 times, and then all of a sudden something goes catastrophically wrong. You're like, well, this is it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The Clark called the Fitzgerald again at about 7:22 p.m. There was no answer. So this back and forth before was at 7:10 p.m. Captain Cooper contacted other ships in the area by radio asking if anyone else had seen or heard from the Fitzgerald. The weather had cleared dramatically. He had his written report states, "At this time, I became very concerned about the Fitzgerald. I couldn't see the lights when we should have. I then called William Clay Ford to ask him if my phone was putting out a good signal and also if perhaps the Fitzgerald had rounded the point and was in shelter. After a negative report, I called the Sioux Coast Guard because I was sure something had happened to the Fitzgerald. The Coast Guard were at this time trying to locate a 16-foot boat that was overdue." And that was the thing, is they didn't have any worries that the Fitzgerald went down. They were worried about that 16-foot boat instead. Despite the Arthur M. Anderson saying, "Hey, we lost this ship. We cannot find it."
Well, back then too, radar wasn't as good, and you would expect a 16-foot boat to have more problems than a, how long is Edmund Fitzgerald?
729 feet.
Let's say 700-foot
It
boat.
was 1 foot less than the allowance of the canal in the St. Lawrence Seaway.
Yep.
When they had it built.
That boat moved some dagonite.
Over 742 round trips, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Without mounting apprehension, Captain Cooper called the Coast Guard once again around 8 p.m., almost an hour later, and firmly expressed his concern for the welfare of the Fitzgerald. The Coast Guard then initiated its search for the missing ship. By that time, the Anderson had reached the safety of Whitefish Bay.
Yep. It sunk at the point. It made it to the bay.
To the relief of all on board. But the Coast Guard called Captain Cooper back at 9 p.m. "Anderson, this is Group Sioux. What is your present position?" "We're down here about 2 miles off of Parisian Island right now. The wind is northwest 40 to 45 miles here in the bay. Is it calming down at all, do you think?" "In the bay it is, but I heard a couple of the Salties talking up there, and they wish they hadn't gone out." And the Salties he's referring to is the... shoot, I can't remember their names. It's like Yarnfish, Barnfish, or something like that, and Olive, something like that. Anyways, it was 3 ships that were heading out of Whitefish Bay into the lake, and they said they regretted it. "Do you think there's any possibility you could come about and go back there and do any researching?" "God, I don't know. Oh, that sea out there is tremendously large. If you want me to, I can, but I'm not going to be making any time. I'll be lucky to make it 2 or 3 miles an hour going back out that way." So anyways, they go back and forth trying to talk about the sea and their decision to go and look for the Fitzgerald.
Imagine, like, too, that you were paired up with them and realizing later on that you had passed where they sunk.
You would know.
No, I know that they didn't know that, but what I'm saying is, years later, when they finally discovered it, you're like, "Holy shit, we went right by them."
Yeah, but it's still 500 feet
that's-
under the water.
yeah.
No, I know that. I'm just saying, you were right there. To be within a
Yeah,
10-mile
to be
radius
fair,
of
To be
them,
fair.
you were in a 10-mile
Yeah.
radius of them, and you...
But at the same
Sunk
time,
past them.
the coldness of Lake Superior and everything, like, there is, even with a preserver and everything, like, you are
You're not going to
not
last
last
long.
long.
Well, also, if you
are-
think about it, if the waves are big enough to sink a 700-foot boat, the lifeboat
Mhm.
probably ain't going to do you any good.
I'm not saying just a lifeboat. I'm saying you a preserver or something like
Yeah.
on your shoulders.
Oh,
Like,
And,
yeah,
you're doing nothing.
the way they disappeared so fast, it definitely was a quick sink.
It
Also, in
was-
November with 45-mile-an-hour winds, what's the...
45 up to 70.
Okay, so what's the...
70 to 90 mile.
What's the exposure rate out there? You wouldn't last
No.
at all out there on a preserver.
The Anderson turned out to be the primary vessel in the search, taking the lead. With the ship pounding and rolling badly, the crew of the Anderson discovered the Fitzgerald's 2 lifeboats and other debris, but no sign of survivors. Only one other vessel, the William Clay Ford, was able to leave the safety of Whitefish Bay to join the search at the time. The Coast Guard launched a fixed-wing HU-16 aircraft at 10 p.m. and dispatched 2 cutters, the Naugatuck and the Woodrush. The Naugatuck arrived at 12:45 p.m. November 11th, and the Woodrush arrived November 14th, having journeyed all the way from Duluth, Minnesota. The Coast Guard conducted an extensive and thorough search. On November 14th, the U.S. Navy plane equipped with a magnetic anomaly detector located a strong contact 17 miles northwest of Whitefish Point. During the following 3 days, the Coast Guard cutter Woodrush, using a side scan sonar, located 2 large pieces of wreckage in the same area. Another sonar survey was conducted November 22-25. November 20. What? Okay. The following May 1976, Woodrush was again at the scene to conduct a 3rd side scan sonar survey. Contacts were strong enough to bring the U.S. Navy's CURV-3 Curve 3 controlled underwater recovery vehicle operating from Woodrush. The Curve 3 unit took 43,000 feet of videotape and 900 photographs of the wreck. On May 20th, 1976, the words Edmund Fitzgerald were clearly seen on the stern, upside down, 535 feet below the surface of the lake.
To all of our viewers, Lake Superior is very deep. 500 feet's not even close to the bottom of the lake.
No, it gets deep, deep, deep.
I can't remember.
Deep,
It's
deep.
how deep is Lake Superior?
We'll
Yeah,
look
it's
it up
deep.
later.
Yeah, we should look it up.
29 men were lost when the Fitzgerald went down. There is absolutely no conclusive evidence to determine the cause of the sinking. The bell of the ship is now on display at the Great Lakes Ship Museum as a memorial to her lost crew. So the bell of the Edmund Fitzgerald on the 20th anniversary in 1995, they salvaged it from the wreck, and that's when they brought it up to the museum.
Lake Superior is 1,332 feet at its deepest.
That's deep.
That goddamn
406 meters.
Damn.
40 miles north of Munising, near
damn.
Pictured Rocks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Abigail Hart says she saw the bell. I hope we see the bell on Monday. And they ring it 29 times, one for every lost sailor on the ship. And I read something earlier that when Gordon Lightfoot passed away, they rang it 30 times. Because Gordon Lightfoot wrote the song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which I'm going to get into that in a second here.
29 times for the sailors and one for Gordon Lightfoot.
Yes, but allegedly someone commented on the video saying they've always rang it 30 times. One bell for all the other lost sailors on Lake Superior over the history of shipping. I don't know if there's any truth to either one. Maybe we'll find out on Monday.
I had to do demolition on a ship in Lake Superior that was originally commissioned in like 1890 something and then was retired in 1980 something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Gordon Lightfoot, folk singer, wrote the song Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And
It's a banger. It's
And
a
so-
it's a classic.
Yep.
Instant classic.
Absolutely. And so a little lore behind it. Before he wrote the song, within a week of the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, I mean, it took off like wildfire. It was national news, possibly international news, and then it disappeared. No one cared about the Edmund Fitzgerald sinking anymore. Until Gordon Lightfoot released that song on his album Summer Nights, I believe it was, in 1976. And every single radio station in the Great Lakes area especially were flooded with people calling, asking to request that song. And before the 1-year anniversary of the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald in 1976, I think it was Warner Brothers Records that released the album. They even made a 48-inch or 45-inch vinyl single of the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald and released it, wide mass release, and it became an international hit. Everyone in the entire country, if not the world, knew who the Edmund Fitzgerald was, the wreck, 29 men lost, before the 1-year anniversary of the shipwreck. That's how fast Gordon Lightfoot's song took off. And it forged the legend, the story of the Edmund Fitzgerald in American and Great Lakes history, hopefully forever. So on that, I'm going to have this drink right here for the 29 souls and the one soul of Gordon Lightfoot. May they all rest in peace. And all the men and women that have lost their lives on Lake Superior and the Great Lakes and any oceans around the world.
Oh, what a song. What a time.
I would love to play it as our outro,
I know.
but we would get hit immediately. Well, I can always take it off.
Well,
I can do that.
We'd get hit
I can
very
hit
hard.
hit him hard.
Hit him hard.
I can always take it off. Any more?
I imagine most of our viewers can look up this song. though.
Any other facts that I may have missed about the Edmund Fitzgerald that we can discuss while we're waiting here?
There's also
There's
a
lots of them,
Jag
actually.
Panzer version, which you may
pretty
be
good.
interested in if you like more
Kind
of
of a
a
power
power
metal.
metal.
You know what I
or
just
hard
remembered
rock.
too? I said that I worked on that ship. It was built in 1912 because it was built the same year the Titanic went down. I remember that.
Okay. So 1957, I believe, it was built. Like I said, I'm making a video on my channel about this. I will hopefully have it released on Monday
1957 for what?
for it being built.
Oh, the Edmund.
Fitzgerald.
Yeah. I know that it was specifically designed for that taconite that they used to unload.
Yep.
You guys ever hear of what are they called? Whale belly ships?
Yep.
Yeah. And those used to be a huge thing because they used to carry a lot of weight. But the new devices to remove the taconite from the ships couldn't fit in those. So like ships like the Edmund Fitzgerald and the Edmund Fitzgerald itself were specifically designed so that they could remove it faster and easier.
Yeah. And I think they even talked about it in the story about how they placed the chips and everything and how they weren't sealed correctly, and that allowed lake water to get in. And they said, no, we did it right. Like, we followed the rules.
Yep.
It's based on just the size of the waves and everything. So there's a lot of back and forth on how it actually went down. Nobody was there. Nobody can say what actually happened. So
I know. And I always wonder, like I said, you're in this huge storm. Were all the employees, like all the sailors, like up anxious, or were there some like sleeping in their bed and all of a sudden they're like, oh shit? Because it wasn't.
I'm sure there was full hands on deck. Like, hey, this is.
Well, I'm sure as soon as it's going down, but I'm saying it was a short scene between. Yeah, I need one. It was a short scene between when it was okay to when it was down.
No, I'm good. So, the multiple pictures, it's some good history there. It's just sad, just
Yeah.
sad
It is a
history.
sad
It is.
tragedy.